Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 90. We're 10 episodes away from our 100th birthday. How very exciting. I feel like I should be hosting a party, really. But I'm not quite sure how you host a party when it's just you and the cat sat in your living room on your own via a podcast, but never mind. So, I hope you are all well. I am going rogue tonight. I'm going in with no notes. I've got a Lemsip in hand because I have contracted some little germs from a Jeremy McJermison at school, I think. But I'm all right. We're healing. We're doing well. I've had a fairly uneventful week, if I'm being honest. I've just been busily squirreling away on my laptop this week. And my first week of being 35, it's going well so far. We've welcomed 4 new members into the Vibe Tribe just this week, so that's very exciting. Love that for us. Gloria's attacking me already. And this evening, I've just been live on my Instagram talking absolute shite while I was cooking my tea, because I feel like, I should use that Instagram more and I should come on and talk to you. But there I was thinking I was an influencer cooking my cauliflower while I was chatting away. So if you don't already follow me and you would love to see that riveting stuff of me talking nonsense while I am cooking cauliflower, then come and follow me at Positive Pig Podcast on Instagram, or come and join me in the Facebook group, because we've got about 500 of us in the Facebook group. So yeah. So this evening, because I'm recording in the evening, I am going to talk to you about something that I was chatting with 2 of my one-to-one clients last week. By the way, if you would like to work with me one-to-one, or you would like to come and join us in the Vibe Tribe, then you can find all the links for that to the website, which is www.positivepig.co.uk. So come and join us. Anyway, I was talking to them both about it because they were kind of both struggling with the same thing. So this topic I thought would be really useful for all of us, and it's also something I've done for myself. So I don't just preach, I also practice. So these 2 lovely ladies that I happened to be working with last week were both kind of having feelings of that they were doing really well and that they were making big moves, which they both were. And then they'd hit a bit of a block, like a bit of a plateau. And we talked about how that happens a lot when you're making progress towards any goal. It's something called an upper limit problem. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about that today, but it's a very interesting topic. So perhaps I will save that one for another episode. But what happens is there's a slight change in our subconscious because it recognises that we're making progress, and then it lowers our vibe so that we go back into our comfort zone. But this doesn't just happen at that point. This can happen anytime, and we can just experience that low vibration for one reason or the other. It could be to do with that. It could be something's actually happened that was a bit negative and you've had this reaction to it. Or it could just be how you're feeling right there and then for no particular reason at all. So that might feel to you like you are feeling quite stressed, or it might feel like you are procrastinating, or that you are feeling really bored or stagnant, because that's basically what it is. It's stagnant energy. It could be that you feel really emotional, that you are being super snappy, or a bit of a grouch, a little groucherson. Everything's a McSomethingson when I'm talking about it, in case you hadn't already noticed. You know that feeling. It's hard to explain, but you'll know what I mean. It's just where you feel like, like nothing's quite right. You're tired, you feel a little bit run down, you're just a bit fed up, and you can't quite put your finger on why you feel that way. And most of the time, that could be fixed pretty easily. But what we end up doing, and I include myself in this, is we let that go on. And then that feeling, that low energy, low vibrational feeling, can then last several days, maybe even a week or more. Generally, for me, it'll last like 2 or 3 days if I'm feeling a bit like that and I don't do anything about it. But I want to make you aware that there are ways that you can very quickly bring yourself out of that. So when you feel like that's creeping in and you're feeling a little bit low energy and a bit procrastinating, maybe you're not looking after yourself as well as you'd like to, feeling a bit like grumpy and a bit snappy and like everything and everybody is pissing you off for no particular reason. So I want to talk to you about what we can do to get out of that before it takes a hold of us and like passes a few days in that feeling, because nobody wants to stay in that feeling. So what I was talking about with those two lovely ladies was making like a toolkit, an energetic recovery toolkit. So something that you will do that will take you between half an hour and an hour and no longer than that is going to bring you back into a higher vibration. Now, maybe not necessarily into a super high vibration. I'm not saying that you're going to go from feeling really crappy to feeling like on top of the world, but it's definitely possible. But it's just going to raise you back up and stop you from getting into that like negative spiral where you feel like everything's all awful and you're walking around with a face like somebody's shat in your handbag for no reason. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to use how I'm feeling right now as an example because I've just listened to this part, the first part of the podcast back, and I've realised what an actual snot rag I sound like. I've got a little bit of a sore throat, my nose is doing that weird like tickly thing, I'm a little bit headachy, just very slightly, and you know I never like to affirm any kind of illness, but I'm not worried, it's just a little germ. But I could now just let that carry on, or I could start thinking about how am I going to start recovering before it takes a hold of me, because I could end up feeling really, really shit. So for a start, I'm drinking a Lemsip because I know that that's going to get rid of my headache, and it's warm and it's making me feel better, and it's got, I don't know, whatever that good shit is that's in a Lemsip that stops you feeling such a snot rag. And then as soon as I've recorded this, I'm going to go and put my electric blanket on and I'm going to get straight into bed. I'll probably have a shower first because then I have a really good sleep, and get straight into bed and have an early night. It is only 7:30, but I'll get in bed early. And I'm going to have an apple next to my bed so that in the morning I wake up and I eat an apple because it's good for me. I'm going to take my vitamins that I've forgotten to take, and I'm going to take them before I go to bed. And I'm going to do all of these things that are not going to take me very long. I'm going to have some water next to my bed. I'm going to make sure that I've got some tissues there for if I need to blow my nose in the night. I'm going to get really cosy and I'm going to read my book in bed. I'm going to take care of myself, and that's what is going to make me better. So when you are in that low vibration, what happens often is that you feel like you don't want to do certain things that you know are going to make you feel better, which is why I want us to think about creating like a toolkit. So if, for example, you had a child, which I know lots of you do, and your child was feeling low vibe, you would recognise that because you'd see that they were a little bit over tearful or a bit emotional or maybe a bit cross, and they were a bit off the food and just generally not themselves, and that's an indication that they are not vibrating at their normal or a high frequency. So you would take care of them, but as adults we don't always do that for ourselves, and that's why creating a toolkit that's only going to take us half an hour is going to be really, really useful for raising our vibration back to a point where we can carry on and we don't have to lose days of our life feeling like shit. So I'm all about that. We don't want to be wasting any days of our life. We want to be making the most of them. So this will be different for everybody because what works for one person won't work for another person. But I'm going to share with you some that I think are going to help me and give you some sorts of like suggestions of things that you could include in your little toolkit. And if you can then, when you feel like you're at this low vibration, think, right, it's time for the toolkit. It's almost like a lemsip, but for your vibration. It's not anything serious. It's just a quick, it's going to pick me up and stop me going down that spiral of illness or of low vibes. And there's nothing wrong with feeling a bit down, by the way. Like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as we take care of ourselves properly to raise ourselves back up. So, told you I've no notes. I'm waffling, aren't I? I'm bloody waffling, I knew it. Anyway, right. So, the first thing for me would be meditation. Did you guess it? I bet you did. I go on and on and on and on about meditation because it has truly changed my life for the better. And also, it's something that I quite like to do. So I think a meditation to start off would be a really good kick-off to my toolkit. Now, even though I love meditation, I probably wouldn't feel like doing an hour-long meditation, and also that's taking up too much of my time in my toolkit. I want it to be a quick, snappy, right, you've got half an hour, you go in doing this whether you like it or not, because it is going to make you feel better. Whereas if I overface myself with loads of different tasks to do, then that would kind of do the opposite effect. So it would be the time for a 5-minute guided meditation. One that I love to do is one called Jess Shepherd, a lady called Jess Shepherd. She's on YouTube and Spotify and Apple. Really good guided meditation. So I'd find a quick 5-minute meditation and I would do that. Something else that I would do is I would probably have a shower and wash my hair. And that's because when you have a shower, you can visualise all of that negative energy that you might feel like you've picked up going down the plug hole. Has anybody ever felt worse for having a shower and washing the hair? Maybe even shave your legs. I might shave my legs while I'm in there, because you automatically feel like you are cleansed, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. You're getting rid of all that shitty energy and you feel fresh. Think about when you've been ill and then you finally drag yourself out of your rotting pit to go and have a shower when you've been really ill and you've been in bed for like 2 days. You feel so much better for it. So I would start with a meditation and a shower and washing my hair. They're the two things that I would start off with. Maybe the other way around. Now for me, if I've just got out of the shower and I've just done my meditation, I'm likely to be in my pyjamas. So I'm not about to go out for a big walk. That would be something that would raise my vibration. But again, I want it to be super quick. I don't want it to be anything that's going to take me any amount of time. So the next thing that I would do is I would go and hang out of the window. I know these all sound a bit like, what's she on about? But meditation, cleansing yourself of your energy and having some fresh air. Just having some fresh air. Just standing at the window quietly and breathing in a little bit of fresh air can do you the world of good. So that would probably take me, let's say, 15 minutes altogether. 10, 15 minutes. So some other things that I would include in mine are things like EFT tapping, because that can be done in 5 minutes. EFT tapping, if you don't already know, is called emotional freedom technique tapping, and it's a practice where you tap on the different meridian points in your body that hold energy, and they help you to, by tapping on them, you're moving any stagnant energy around. And while you're doing that, there's loads of videos on YouTube, by the way, if this is something that you're interested in, you don't already know about it. But while you're tapping on these different points, you're talking about how you're feeling. So you might be talking about how you feel really annoyed at your fucking husband because he's not taking the bins out again. But that's not really what's going on. So you start digging around and finding out what's really bothering you, and you get that out. And then slowly, by repeating that process of tapping on these different points, you then start to tap in more positive feelings and more empowering feelings, shall we say, and empowering thoughts. So there are loads of really, really good ones on YouTube for you to try. EFT tapping, a really good, quick way to raise your vibration. So let's say that's 20 minutes. Then in the next 5 minutes, like I did last night. Now, it doesn't have to be in this order, by the way. You can do it in any order you like. But the next 5 minutes, I would spend checking in with myself and doing a scheduled cry. So people find this really odd that I do this. And if you were watching me on my story last night, you will have seen that I was talking on the video while I was scriking. And I do that not because I want to be a drama llama, but because I want to encourage people to cry, because crying is a release of pent-up emotions. And if you weren't meant to cry, you would not have been given 2 holes in the corner of your eyes to release tears from. It's really important that if you feel like you need to cry, and remember, it's not always just for negative things. It could be any kind of emotion. You can cry at anything. If it's just a little bit too much emotion that's pent up, it needs to come out. Crying is a fantastic way. Now, I don't sit there and listen to really sad, well, sometimes I do actually listen to really sad songs, but only if I know that I need to cry. I don't force myself to cry, but I give myself the opportunity to, and I allow myself to release it. If you are a bit uncomfortable with this, it's a great thing to do while you're in the shower because it feels a bit more natural. But crying is one of my favourite things to get me back up into a high vibe, because if I'm hanging on to something, I can't get back up there until I release it. There's lots of other ways that you can release it as well, like EFT tapping, like journaling, but crying's really quick. Like, it's so effective. Think about children. When you've got a child who is experiencing overwhelming emotion, they will cry. 5 minutes later, absolutely fucking fine. So we need to use that ability to cry to actually do what it's meant for, releasing your emotion. So last night when I was in bed, I was scriking my eyes out for 5-10 minutes, full on scriking. Next minute I was like, yeah, I'm done now. Went in the kitchen and did the next thing that's on my list. So the next thing is dancing and music, but particularly dancing, because when you move your body, again, all of the energy that is stagnant is having a release. Have you ever felt, how can I describe this? Not so much adrenaline as such, but I think you'll know what I mean. Have you ever got really passionate about something that you're talking about, or really excited about something, not necessarily a negative emotion like excitement or passion, something like that? If you get really into something that you're talking about, I personally will start to like shake a little bit, not violently. I'm not like absolutely wilding, but I will start to like my like mouth, my jaw will start to like shiver a little bit, and I'll get a little bit shivery. And that's because I'm moving that energy out of my body. It's moving around. And when I feel a bit shaky like that and I know it needs to come out, I will literally shake my arms about and dance. But shaking your limbs and dancing around and listening to really like high vibe music is a surefire way to get your vibration back up and to get all of that pent up energy. I'm doing it right now as I'm talking. I'm like moving my arms around. So moving your body in any way, shape or form, but particularly movements where you're like shaking your limbs, they will release loads of emotions, and it's the emotions and the pent-upness of it that is causing you to feel in that low vibrational state. You just need to release it. That's all you've got to do. You just need to release it. So releasing it through crying, through shaking, through movement like dance, through tapping. There's so many different ways to release what you don't need anymore and let it come out, and then get yourself back into a more stable place where you can like feel in a higher vibration. One more thing that I'm going to mention, because at this point I would have run out of time, I think, in my half an hour, but something else that I would potentially do is I would go and put my feet on the ground. And lots of people will look at you and think that you are a tree-hugging maniac, and that's fine. But when you put your bare feet on the ground, you are letting the earth take away anything that you don't need. You're getting yourself grounded. That's why it's called grounding. So putting your bare feet on the earth, and lots of us don't ever put our bare feet on the earth, which is mad to me because I never wear shoes. I literally am barefoot most of the time. But loads and loads and loads of adults don't take the shoes off at all, like until they're in bed. So your feet might not have touched the ground in 2024 on the grass. So if that's the case, start making a little bit of a habit of putting your feet on the grass just for a few minutes. Just stand in the garden, drink your brew with your feet on the grass. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. And I do feel like this episode has been a bit all over the place because I didn't make any notes because I was feeling a little bit germy, even though I'm taking care of myself now. But let me just recap what the things are that are in my energetic toolkit, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so the first thing was meditation, a short guided meditation. The second thing was having a shower and washing your hair. Washing all of that energy away that is no longer serving you and visualising that going down the plug hole as you're doing it. Having some fresh air, just sticking your head out of the window or going standing outside in the garden. EFT tapping. If you would like to see some YouTube videos on that, you can look for a man called Brad Yates. Very, very good, Brad Yates. Having a scheduled cry. Amazing. An amazing way to release any pent-up emotion that needs to come out in order for you to get feeling a bit more stable again. Some sort of movement that involves shaking, dancing, moving around and shaking all of that energy out of your limbs. And the last one was grounding. So that might sound like quite a big list of things and you might be thinking, well, how the fuck is she going to do all that in one go? But there's a few of those things that you can pair up. So for example, sometimes I like to have my scheduled cry in the shower. Sometimes I like to have some fresh air while I'm grounding. Sometimes I like to dance and sing around whilst also doing a little bit of tapping. I don't even always do the kind of the speech part of the tapping. Sometimes just tapping on the different meridian points is enough to release the stagnant energy. So I want you to go away in the nicest way possible. I want you to go away and I want you to come up with a 30-minute, and no longer than 30 minutes really, 30-minute toolkit that you can use when you are feeling like you need to be taken care of. Because if you don't step in and look after yourself like you would do if you were your child, then what will happen is you will continue to spiral and get deeper and deeper into those negative feelings and that low vibration. And, you know, nothing's going to happen. It's not the end of the world if that does happen. But you could save yourself from days of feeling like that. And that's always a winner, if you ask me, because obviously we want to stay feeling good as much as possible. That is our natural state. We're supposed to be feeling good. So you don't have to do the same things as me. They're just suggestions, and I would love to hear your ideas. But there are loads and loads and loads of tools out there that I've talked about on this podcast that are all over the internet, that are everywhere you look in the self-development world, that you can turn into a bit of a routine for when you just need taking care of. And you can almost certainly force yourself to do something for 30 minutes if you know it's going to bring your vibration back up, but you might not necessarily be able to do it for a whole day. So think about things that you can include that will maybe take you 5 minutes at a time, or ways that you can combine a couple of things, like, for example, having a cry in the shower, or having your fresh air while you're outside grounding. And if some of those things don't resonate with you, that's absolutely fine. You can make it shorter, you could make it longer, but make it so that it's really accessible and that you can have it written down in your journal or pinned up somewhere and think, right, I've come home today and I feel a bit down and I can't put my finger on it. There's obviously something that needs to be released and I'm going to look after myself. I'm going to take care of myself like I would do if I was feeling a little bit ill, and go off and do that and try it and see what a difference it makes to your energy. So I hope that you've been able to follow the track of this podcast. I'm going to listen to it back and hope that it makes a bit of sense. So please forgive me if it's not my most concise ever podcast. I'm trying my best. So yeah, have a wonderful week and I will see you all next week. And once you've made your, what we're doing? What is it again? Toolkit, that's the word. Once you've made your toolkit, I would love to see them because I get ideas from you as well. Like, please share them in the group because I would really, really love to see them and perhaps pinch some of your ideas for my own. So have a fabulous week and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.